Hi everyone and welcome to Adobe InDesign. To start off this week, I just wanted to take a minute to show you guys around in the classroom in case this is your first online class with Extension. So let's go ahead and do that before we get into anything about software. So this would be your typical course shell if this is your first class. Many of you I saw on the roster have been with me before, so my classes are structured pretty much the same as all the other ones. If you are on your home page, you will notice that you have the announcements page with everything that you need to know about InDesign. And you will always see announcements from me here. So I have them released by date, so you won't be able to see all of these, but I release them as planned in sequence. So that's under your announcements tab. Under your introduction area, that's just a little bit about the class itself, which we're going to get into when I open the software up and start really explaining what that is, and just a little bit about me if you've never had me before. And we're going to get into the syllabus next. Now, for some of you guys, I'm recording this for spring 2019. Next terms, the dates might be off, but the content would still be the same as far as where it's placed. Okay, so this is Adobe InDesign 1. So this is an intro course to InDesign. So our dates are here, when we're starting and when we're finishing. Now technically this is only an 8-week course. I just give you guys until the final date of my other classes, my weeks 9 and 10 classes, to finish up your final projects and things like that. So if you're noticing that the course date is a little off, it's just because I give you guys extra time to finish your final assignments. I'm Kelly Bennett. My email is here for anything that you might need, and my office hours. You can also, I use Google Hangouts, so if you want to add me to your Hangouts, you can ask questions there. If you want a response faster than email, because I'm online working most days, so I can pop on when I have a moment and answer your questions. If you email me, I'll usually respond faster than 48 hours, but just a heads up because sometimes classes have a lot of people in them. It might take me a little bit of time, but if you don't hear from me within 48 hours, most likely is I didn't receive the message, so it would be a good idea to either resend it or just pop on and ask your question. Okay, so welcome to InDesign 1. If this is your first online course, there are some resources listed further down that you might want to check out. So I'm going to go ahead and go through some of these with you. I won't read it verbatim because I know you guys can kind of do that on your own. Computer skills is a great thing to have walking into this class. I'm demoing on a Mac, so if you're on a PC, some things are going to be different, some shortcuts are going to be different, so you're going to have a little bit of a different learning curve as far as that. Basic skills on how to open files and things like that are always helpful, but I will walk you through as much as I can. So what this course goal and objectives are, we're learning InDesign, but we're going to be using Photoshop and Illustrator as well to be able to modify graphics, change DPI. The first week I'm going to take you through, just the technical stuff. How to save a file out of Illustrator and bring it into InDesign. How to save a file correctly out of Photoshop into InDesign. How to put a text box. So InDesign is really that software that holds all of your design assets together to be able to package a file and send it to a printer correctly without any issues. Okay, so your learning objectives here. Develop a detailed understanding of type management and art direction. Aesthetics is important. The first couple of assignments, if you're struggling, they're just technical. They're not so much design savvy, but I'll always give you student samples to kind of show you where the bar is that you want to be hitting in the course. So don't be intimidated by that. It's just it's a learning tool to help you kind of see where everyone's at when they take the course. Integrate all elements to create a cohesive design. It's important that it looks right. I'll show you how to make sure that your designs are, fitting well together, picking appropriate colors, and things like that. Develop a core understanding of image manipulation through all media channels. We go through a little bit of web in this class, but not a ton. But we do talk about resizing images for digital media. So if you were to make an ad for print and then a web banner ad for online media, just the different DPIs and things that you would be using. If you had me for the Intro to Graphic class, you probably know some of that information already. Okay. Let's see. Let's keep going down here. Develop a detailed understanding of industry-specific software. InDesign is still used for most print agencies. It's something you'll use every day if you go into more of the graphic design track. I know many of you guys might be in the content creation area, so you might not use it as much, but it's really good to be able to know the three main software: Photoshop, InDesign, and Illustrator. Prepare artwork for appropriate output. That's really when we're going to go over packaging, which we start talking about packaging on week 2. The first week, I just kind of get your feet wet with making a document, and we don't go over packaging yet. And exhibit client-specific solutions to design problems. A lot of the stuff that we do in this course is technical, but then there's things like creative problems, like creating an advertisement, or things like that are design problems that you're trying to come up with a creative solution for. Okay, so moving on down, I don't have a mandatory course textbook for the course. I always encourage you guys to have at least 6 or higher. I'm finding that most of you guys are coming in with the current version of CC, which is great. Makes my job a little bit easier because there's some features in the older versions that don't exist in the one that I'm demoing on. Acrobat's really good to have because how I usually give back your feedback on creative projects is I will take it into Acrobat and I will put a little sticky note of changes, things that you can do, and I'll send it back to you. If you don't have Adobe Acrobat, definitely download the 30-day trial before we get to some of the creative projects because that's how I always give feedback. Okay, always be aware, depending on the version that you guys are using, there might be some differences in things that I'm showing you or resources, things along that line. The extension courses use lynda.com for the required textbook for the class. I give some links to it, but I give just as many links that are to other resources, TED Talks, YouTube, Vimeo, whatever I find out there that's going to be good for whatever we're studying that week. So besides the actual videos that I give you, there's always some other little places that you can go to, get more information and bookmark things. All right, so I have the first edition in here for the Quick Start Guide. Again, you don't need to purchase this book. Most of what I give you will be digital or in the exact same format that I'm giving you right now. I will set it up as a lecture for you. Okay, the course overview. I'll just briefly go through this with you. So the first week, we're learning all about the technical stuff in InDesign. We're going over printing and publishing trends, what's the difference between pixels and vectors, Photoshop versus Illustrator, and things like that. Then in the next week, we're going over some of the specifics in InDesign, like how to work in pixels versus points, how to change your preferences, and things like that. Then we get into typography and some more creative things. We go over color, online and digital portfolios, design tips for the web, some more advanced type functions, and then session 8, we're always just working on that final project. Which what I'm doing new in this course is I'm going over the spec sheets just like what I'm doing now versus just having you kind of read and interpret it because I'm finding it's more, it's easier than just reading the document and trying to wing it. Okay, so we'll go over all of this stuff in the course shell, but you can read through it on your own. So the course schedule, if you have any questions on grading, the point system is always going to be broken down here. So you can see the first week, we have an introduce yourself under discussion, which is worth 2 points. And you also have contribute to the discussion board, which is worth 3 points. And then the week 1 lesson assignment is worth 8 points. So not every week you have double discussions, but just this week you do. And you can kind of see that it kind of changes from week to week. So bi-weekly, I have a discussion thread, there's a project, and then there's also a creative project. So you can see there's a lesson project, which sometimes is more technical or writing. You can see the point difference there. And then in the red, I have create and add project. So just so you can kind of see, those are bi-weekly. And you can go ahead and read through that and email me with any questions on that. Requirements, pretty specific with late work. I mean, if life happens, it's an online class. I get most of you guys are working professionals in various fields, so life does happen. So email me if something's going on, and I'll try to work with you the best that I can. A lot of the stuff that's writing, that's the information here if you really need to go over that. And then again, the breakdown individually of how much each weekly, how much the weekly information is and exactly what it is again. If you've never had a class with extension before, the classes are Tuesday. They start on Tuesday instead of Monday. So that's a little bit of a learning curve if you've never taken a class with extension. Is the end of the week is always going to be Monday at midnight. And then you can see the grade breakdown. Okay, on some of the grading spec sheets, I'll have points for professional, technical, design, and concept. Here's where I kind of broke that down to explain exactly what those points are. For me, professional are things like, was it on time? Was it packaged correctly? Because after week 2, I have you guys packaging files, you know, and things like that. Technical projects, it depends on the individual task, but I almost always have very specific objectives that you're trying to make sure that you know what you're doing in InDesign, which we'll be going over the spec sheet at the end of the lecture this week. For design, just good design aesthetics. You know, a lot of you guys might be rusty with that or not necessarily a design background, so just do the best you can. I always try to give you guys revisions. So if you do really rough on a design project and you got a lot of changes and feedback, you could always resubmit it for a better grade. As long as you put in the work, I'm always willing to regrade. And then concept would be the last one. You know, does it have one? And I gave kind of an example there. Okay, I don't do online quizzes, just assignments. So this section is just, it's in all the extension classes, but I left it there. And then the student resources, which we will go over. Okay, so that's the syllabus. So going to the lessons, this is where every week we will have, you know, what's going on. You'll have more under lesson 1. I'm actually redoing this lesson right now because I wanted it to not be static. Under discussion board, you'll be able to see exactly where to post. So you can see here we have the week 1 set up already, and you would just click on it and create your thread. Same thing for design resources. I mentioned that there's 2 the first week, and then you won't be able to see the other ones yet. And then assignments. So here you can see we start off, and I'm kind of going easy to begin with because we're just getting our feet wet with the lesson 1, and then you can see the bi-weekly. We have a lesson 2 exercise and then also an ad for week 2, which I will be going over next week. So this is where you can kind of expect to see things. So under your assignments, this is a question that I get often. If I'm just going to turn off my edit mode so I'm in student mode, and then this shows you exactly what it'll look like for you guys. But when you click on your lesson 1, this is what you guys are going to see. So if you have any comments you need to write to me, or, well, most of you guys will be uploading a file, you would just browse my computer to locate the file. And then once that's attached, you'll be able to submit it to me. Okay, and now we're going to move into, oh wait, one more thing, under resources. Anything that I give you that's extra will usually be an external PDF like this, because I change it often. Sometimes I find really good tutorials that are old that are still good content, and I'll keep them. So there's some Linda tutorials here, but I update it weekly if there's anything new, so the only thing here that you guys would be interested right now would be lesson 1. Okay, and that's always going to be under your resources. All right, let's move into InDesign.